Welcome to my podcasts called Discover Your Power, where you will learn how to release limiting beliefs, create abundance, and manifest the life you deserve and that truly works for you. My name is Jania Aebi, transformational healer, author, and coach. There is so much more joy, health, wealth, and success available to you when you get a true perspective on how life really works. I want you to have what you deeply desire, and these podcasts will help you find your truth, unlock your potential, and empower your life. The first thing to understand about power is that you have it all within you, because there is only one power which is the source of all life. Because you have life, you also have all the qualities of Source or God to every being at birth, and that power is to be used to make your life how you want it to be. If you use it for any other purpose, you have come out of alignment with the spiritual laws of the universe, and the result must be less than good, what we call evil. When we experience struggle, strife, and failure, when our lives don't work, the reason is not that God is punishing us for some misdemeanor, but that we are not in alignment with one or more spiritual laws, which are principles that always hold true. And the first one is that all power is within us. But more often than not, we think that people, situations, and circumstances have power over us, when in reality they have none. They are just an appearance, based on our thoughts, beliefs, and actions of the past. They are like the wake of a boat, which shows us where the boat has been, but that wake has no power whatsoever over where the boat is going. You are the captain, steering the boat of your life, and you choose in every moment where it will go. And the power to make the boat move is the engine under the hood, your spirit or source. Where you have been, your past, the wake behind the boat, however tumultuous it looks, has no power at all over your future, the still expanse of the ocean in front of you. This metaphor is easy to understand, but when transposed to your life, may be harder to assimilate, because your experience of the past shows that it's your boss or your spouse or the government or the weather or whatever else it is for you that has control over your life, right? That's your experience, based on your perception, but everyone has a different perception of a comparable event. So, for example, if you're divorced and getting support from your ex, one person thinks it really helps, is happy and grateful for it. Another person thinks they should be getting more and is resentful and unhappy. Your perception stems from your thoughts, and your thoughts determine your feelings. Sometimes the same exact event can look different depending on the circumstances, even your location. So, for example, let's take the fact of rain. When I lived in England, where it rained a lot, I was not happy about it. I wished there was less of it. I longed for a sunny day and a cloudless sky. Then I went to live in West Africa, where the sun was shining all day, every day, without a cloud in the sky, for about 7 to 8 months of the year. And I loved it. But when the rainy season started, was I upset? I remember I went out on the terrace looking at the dark clouds gathering and waited with joyful expectation for the downpour. And it was not just drops of rain. It felt like streams of water were being poured from the sky, every day, several times a day, for the next 4 or 5 months. It never bothered me. I knew sunshine would not be long in coming. In one instance, rain was unwelcome, made me unhappy. In the other, I stood in the rain and felt pure joy. So what we experience is a product of our thoughts, which generate our feelings. Thoughts held on a consistent basis many times over create beliefs, but we do have the power to change our thoughts, and therefore also our beliefs. We have individual beliefs and also collective beliefs that we have all agreed on from times immemorial, from when we came into this world of duality and started perceiving things with our physical senses of sight, hearing, touch, and so on, instead of with our spiritual sense. We now call that spiritual sense the sixth sense, or intuition. We just know what we should do, or what's the truth of a situation, or in which direction to move, without knowing why or how. That's the knowing of our soul, and if we follow that knowing, however illogical it seems to our mind, the result is good. If we don't, and follow what seems logical, what we believe, or what the world believes that goes against our intuition, the result is often not so good. Our beliefs that stem from our thoughts consistently held, or from what we have learnt from others, can be changed if we see evidence the belief is not true, and are willing to make the change. Some beliefs that may have been true at a certain time must be abandoned if we want to progress. Like when we were 3 years old, we had the belief we had to hold our mother's hand when crossing a street. As we grew, we gained more knowledge and understanding, and at some point discarded that belief. It was no longer useful. When our experiences are less than perfect, when we are faced with people who are angry, disrespectful, or take advantage of us in some way, usually it's because there is something in our thoughts, beliefs, and ultimately actions that is being reflected to us. The world outside is just a reflection of our consciousness, of what's going on inside of us. And we are so used to looking on what is outside that we forget to look inside, look at what we're thinking, feeling, or judging. And that's what's going to appear in our future. Just as what you're experiencing now is a product of your past thoughts and feelings. When we have people in our lives that are taking advantage of us or lack consideration, and we really feel we are not like that to others, look at how considerate and respectful you are of yourself, of your own needs. Most times, it's not to other people that we have shown anger or disrespect. Usually, we're quite polite. But more than likely, we've been angry with ourselves, disrespectful to ourselves, not considering our own needs, but saying yes to other people's needs. Have you ever said to yourself, "How stupid can you get?" Or, "You're so weak, you've got no willpower"? Things you would never say to anyone else, but you think you're helping yourself be better when it's just the opposite. You've forgotten you are a spirit dressed up in a human body. So you are love, you are wisdom, kindness, and strength. You can't be stupid or weak. You're stating an untruth about who you really are. You're acting from your limited personality. But remember, what you believe and say will act as a truth until you reverse your thinking and start stating the truth about yourself. Where other people are concerned, even if you're not openly critical, what are your thoughts about them, your judgments of their behavior? Those are just as damaging to your own vibration as would be your disparaging words. When we judge, in essence, we have put up a wall between ourselves and the invisible, perfect, and unchanging world of Source, which is all peace, harmony, joy, and abundance. And so, those things can't now penetrate into our world. Essentially, we are that omnipresent Source, but its attributes can't flow into the material world because of the wall we've created. The soul has incarnated into a physical body and provides the energy with which we think, move, and act. We have all its power, but we must choose to use it and how to use it. In addition to all God's qualities and attributes in potential, we have been given free will to decide how much or how little of them we draw into our life. When we give attention to spirit, we are identifying with that spirit. When we give attention to the material self, we are identifying with the personality. We are both spirit and body, so both need attention. But the more attention we give to spirit, the better our life becomes. When you start identifying with the beautiful, loving, understanding, compassionate, and harmonious spirit you are, and acting from the qualities of that spirit to your own body and personality first, then that will start to flow through you to others. We have proof of the fact that it's our spirit that's real and can do things through the material body, because it can see, hear, think, even without a body. When it leaves a body, and we call it death, but really it's just a transition into another dimension, another reality. It's still functioning and aware of everything, including the material reality it has just left, while the body lies there unable to move, think, to see, or to hear. This has been documented in many near-death experiences, and in one of them I have read about, there was a person declared clinically dead who came back to life after a few hours and told the doctors about the conversations they had about his case while he was dead, told of what some of them did after leaving the room, how one of them, while going to another service, dropped a pen or something, described that pen, and said into which pocket the doctor had put it. And that's just one example of so many. When spirit leaves a body, it can no longer physically act, but is aware of everything in this world and beyond, by focusing attention anywhere it wants to. It's the spirit within us that has all the power, but we as personalities have to direct that power to do whatever we wish. Spirit is the engine of the boat. We are the captain. So many times we hear, "Why does God allow such atrocities?" Or, "If there was a God, these things wouldn't happen." Remember, God or spirit is synonymous with energy. If you replace the word God with the word energy, it no longer makes much sense to say, "Why does energy allow such atrocities?" Energy is neutral. It's human beings who direct the energy through their free will. Human beings, not God, act in harmonious or destructive ways. We have free will, and energy acts according to our direction. The motor in a boat just provides the power. It's neutral, acts according to the direction given by the captain, even if the direction is straight into a cliff. If you choose to commit suicide, God will not stop you. Your free will is always honored. As human beings, we have absolute authority and the power of spirit to act in any way we want, as opposed to nature, which follows natural laws and is always in harmony with all its parts. We humans are the only ones to freely decide what we want, and from this come all of our problems. Nature doesn't have any problems. Not having free will, it always follows divine will. Apple trees can't decide to grow pears this year because pears are more in demand on the market. And a caterpillar can't decide to stay on the ground because it's afraid of heights. Its nature tells it to climb up and make a cocoon, and it always does that. Humans are the only beings that can freely decide what to do or not do, and when we act in opposition to natural laws, we suffer the consequences, and so often also do harm to others. The fundamental law of nature is harmony, abundance, cooperation, and mutual aid. And that is also our fundamental nature. Not war and destruction, poverty, lack and limitation, which all stem from the core misperception that we are separate from Source. Everyone is an aspect of divinity. Everyone, even the worst of us, has that spark of divinity anchored in their heart, or they wouldn't be alive. But how they choose to show up and what they choose to express due to the filters in their minds will always be different from what you and I express through our own filters. It can be a little different or very different, but it's never exactly the same, since we're all unique personalities, only united in our essence, the spirit within us. We're unlike anyone else on the planet. Just as each snowflake is unique, different from every other snowflake and perfect, so we're unique and different, and perfect in our spiritual identity. Simply, we have covered up that identity by having a perspective different from that of our source. And over the centuries, we have built up false beliefs that have become our collective beliefs, and some of them sound like this. We are alone, separate from God and each other, and have to work hard in order to survive. The source of our supply is our boss, our partner, or the government. We are subject to disease, lack, and limitation, and countless other limiting and untrue beliefs and perceptions. Those beliefs that seem so real and all-pervading have become the appearances we see. But that's all they are. Appearances. We've already been told that in the Bible. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment, which means seeing rightly, or seeing spiritual truth. Appearances are just a relative perception of infinite perfection. Just like the photo you've taken of a landscape is a partial and not totally accurate representation of the original view you've seen. Your lens may have had some spots or distortions, and your picture is just a small part of the whole panorama you've seen. But it's good enough. Makes you remember your holiday, and you're happy with it. However, you never believe it's the actual, true landscape. People would think you're crazy. You know it's just a picture. And in the same way, what we see with our eyes is just a picture, a limited perception of the infinite spiritual perfection. We are born into this world and no longer remember it's just a picture of the true landscape from which we have just come, which is so much more, so much bigger than the picture. But we now see with physical eyes only, believe and accept this picture as true, and so our experience is that it's the real landscape. That belief is really hard to shake off, especially since everyone believes this, and our eyes confirm this belief. We must become willing to see that while separation is true on a physical level, on the spiritual or quantum level, we are pure and perfect expressions of spirit. Science has now conclusively proved that we are connected to each other and to everything else that exists in the universe through the quantum field. But we have a hard time living in accordance with that principle, right? Do we always do unto others as we would have them do unto you? Endeavoring to live in accordance with the immutable principles of life, rather than in accordance with the appearances that change every day, and often quite quicker than that, will make your life more peaceful and more like you want it to be. Isn't it exhausting to be so mentally and emotionally involved in what's happening outside your immediate sphere of influence, when you can do absolutely nothing physically to make things better? Instead, send a silent blessing to the people and the situation that is so upsetting to you. A blessing of peace, of joy, of safety and security, of abundance of whatever people need at this time. Know that this blessing can only come from your spirit, with which you have just identified, simply through the fact of feeling a blessing instead of the upset, distress, confusion, or grief most people would be feeling. You have just contributed to the balance of good-bad in the world, on the side of the good. Instead of aligning with the rest of the world, who are feeling shocked, agitated, angry, and dragged down by what they're seeing, and so are contributing to the negative polarity already expressed by the situation or event. That's not to say that you don't do anything to help if you can, but most of the time, there isn't anything you can do physically. The only avenue left is energetic and mental, and we so often forget the power we have when we identify with spirit who we really are, rather than staying in the identification with the personality, which is a learned identity we've been taught and been steeped in ever since the first day of our existence on this planet. There's a lot of momentum to that. My invitation and encouragement to you today is to become conscious as often as possible of your spiritual identity and think and act from that space, not from the space of your human identity. I trust this has been valuable and helpful. Do you want to know more? Then check out my website, www.janiaaebi.com, where you can find much free material. Don't miss any of these episodes by subscribing to this channel. And thank you for your willingness to explore more of the abundance life has to offer you. I love you and will speak to you again soon.